Farming is probably one of the best jobs in the world, but there is some stress to it. It's changed a lot over the last years. The biggest stresses for farming is, number one, is the weather. Second would probably be the markets. I'm a fourth generation farmer. My son will be the fifth. If we don't pass down farming from generation to generation, it is really tough for someone to get into farming. Corn farming has changed a lot over the last few years. It has gotten more efficient through technology. Since the 80s, our corn yields have increased. They used to be 80 to 100 bushel to the acre was a good yield. Now it's 200 to 250 bushel a yield. If we did not have ethanol with the rising yields in our corn production, our corn prices would be way lower, way lower. Since ethanol came in, they use billions of bushels of corn every year, which creates a great market for corn. Most all of my corn goes to the ethanol plant. We bring the corn in, corn gets processed, they take the starch out, and the byproduct is distiller's grain. We bring it back, feed it to the livestock. The CO2 that's created in this process is used by the corn, and the process is ongoing.
Everything that you can get from a barrel of oil, you can get from a bushel of corn. It's simply a matter of biotechnology and economics. At POET, we believe the right thing to do is to use the sun, the soil, and the seed combined with biotechnology to produce the products and the fuels we need in the future to be sustainable. We think of corn as nature's solar system. The leaves act as the solar panel, and then the energy is transferred from the sun into the corn kernels and the biomass, which can be stored indefinitely, so they become nature's battery. There's virtually no waste from producing bioethanol. We use the starch to produce the bioethanol portion, and then we still have remaining the protein, oil, and micronutrients. The protein goes mostly to animal feed all over the world. We have renewable carbon dioxide that ends up in soda, it ends up in beer, it ends up in welding gas. And in addition, we have the corn oil, which today goes mostly to biodiesel, and in the future will go to renewable diesel fuel. How's that for exciting? We now have biofuels as a byproduct of biofuels.
Ethanol production is very sustainable. So when the fuels are made from the biomass and the fuel is burned and the carbon dioxide enters the atmosphere, the next year that same carbon dioxide goes back into producing the next crop of plants that are used. As we grow more crops to produce more energy and more food, more fiber, we absorb more carbon out of the atmosphere. And some of that carbon ends up back in the atmosphere after we burn fuels, for example. But a lot of that carbon ends up in the soil. And so we're actually finding through sustainable farming practices that we're building the soil. We're adding carbon to the soil and pulling it out of the atmosphere, which is basically the opposite of what we do when we extract petroleum and burn that and generate energy.
The great thing about bioethanol is it's available today and it's affordable. It's certainly a solution for every car that's on the road. While there are others working on solutions to climate change, this is one that we use today that everyone can afford.
Alternatives like electric vehicles have, really good potential, but there are problems with lifespan of the batteries. And of course, the fundamental question is, where does the electricity come from? Is it produced from wind or solar that are clean sources, or is it from burning coal that's not a clean source of energy?
Weather extremes have become more and more the norm in the last 10 years. We need biofuels to help stabilize and help reverse some of these climate changes that are going on.
Biofuels are a real catalyst for sustainable agriculture, and agriculture in turn helps us solve problems such as climate change, poverty, hunger, and disease.
The agricultural potential of the world is virtually untapped. There is no question long-term that we could replace everything we get from fossil fuels or hydrocarbons with products from the surface of the earth.